Hello and welcome to Crumbs Doilies HQ. Now, unicorn cakes have been around for quite a long time, about 3 years now, but they don't seem to be going anywhere soon. They're one of the most popular cakes that we make here at Crumbs Doilies. And a couple of weeks ago, I put on my Instagram feed a picture of our Crumbs Doilies unicorn cake, and you were like, "Oh, can I have that? Can you tell me how to do it?" And I was like, "Oh, all right, maybe you can." So now I'm going to show you exactly how we make our full unicorn cake. So this cake is actually something that's become quite popular to do in cake decorating land, which is to, rather than shape the cake and sculpt it and mould it to be the shape of an actual unicorn, which is probably quite difficult, you take the basic shape of a cake, which is obviously cylindrical, and then you feature it up using little, specific features to make it look kind of like the thing that you're making. And this is done loads of times with loads of different animals. And actually a few months ago, when it was my birthday, actually it was a whole year ago, the guys at Crumbs Doilies made me a dog version that looked like my dog Curtis, and it was really, really cute. They surprised me. They made a video in secret and everything, so you can actually go and watch that on my channel. I'll put the link to that up there. And if you haven't subscribed already to my channel, then please go and do that now so you don't miss anything, and make sure you click on the bell. I don't want you to miss any uploads because I'm doing loads more at the moment. So, without further ado, let's get started. So for the unicorn cake, we have to make a few little bits and pieces in advance so that they're nice and dry and firm, and we're ready to use them when we actually decorate the cake. And I'm using modelling paste, which is basically sugar paste with either gum tragacanth or CMC powder mixed into it and just left for a bit. And what that does is it makes it firm up really hard so that when it dries, it's not like wilting and bending. You don't want a wilty unicorn horn. So I'm going to start with 2 pieces of sugar paste. I've actually coloured this already to be a kind of beige colour because I'm going to colour them gold later, and that kind of just helps it along. And there's 2 pieces. So starting with the first one, I'm going to rub it between my fingers to make a kind of sausage shape, but favouring one end so that one end's fatter and one end is thinner. And then once you've got the basic shape, it kind of looks a bit like a parsnip, but we're just going to roll it again just to neaten that up and lengthen it. So once you've done the first one, just put that to one side and start on the second one, so you've got 2 long parsnips. So I've got my 2 long bits of sugar paste, and they are going to work together to create the horn. So I'm going to start at the top, just putting them together, and then I'm going to pick up the bottom part and start twisting. So once you've got a nice twisty horn, you then want to secure it a little bit because it's stuck a bit, but it's not completely solid. So I have some edible glue here. You can use water if you don't have edible glue. It just won't be quite the same. And I'm going to just, in between all the little creases, just put a tiny, tiny bit of edible glue. Once you feel like you've glued enough, just chop the end off to make the bottom bit nice and neat. And then, obviously, you want to stick this onto the cake in the end, but just balancing it on is likely to end in tears. So you want to maybe secure it with one of these. This is just a wooden skewer. You can pick these up at most supermarkets. And I'm going to just brush it with a bit of the edible glue and stick it in the bottom of my horn. So I've only stuck it in halfway. Obviously you don't want to make it go all the way because you'll potentially poke it out the other end, but I'm just going to put this to one side while I get on with the next bit, which are the eyes. And I've got a very small piece of sugar paste here. So this is going to make both of my eyes. So I'm going to roll this into a long sausage first. So you might notice that as I'm rolling it, when I get to the ends, I'm kind of pushing down a little bit more to make them a bit pointy. It kind of looks like a very small rustic baguette right now. So once you've got it to about 5 inches long, you want to cut it in half. So once it's in half, you then from each side need to cut a very small little piece, 3 millimeters long maybe, and they'll be your eyelashes. So each of your sort of what is now like a very pointy cone is one eye, and obviously the thick part of it will be the inside of the eye, and the pointy part will be the outside of the eye. I haven't worn my eyeliner today, so people can't be like, "Oh my God, it's just like your wings." It's just like my wings on another day. But we're going to just round off that edge so that it's not a really abrupt cut, and then shape it to be much more like an eye. So that means it going a little bit up in the fat bit, down, and then up again at the pointy bit. And then with those 2 little pieces that you cut off that end, roll those into another little point as well, and then stick it on using a bit of edible glue just on the edge there to make little eyelashes. So just repeat that with your other eye, but obviously mirror it. So once you've got both your eyes, you can tweak them for a bit if you're not happy or if they seem a bit uneven. Obviously this is still quite soft at the moment before it's dried, so feel free to roll it all up and do it again if you haven't quite managed to get them symmetrical. But if you have, then move them over to the board. We'll deal with those later. And now it's ear time. Now these are really, really simple, the ears. They're going to be a white outside and a gold inside. So the white outside, obviously white sugar paste. I'm going to roll that out first. I'm using a non-stick board and rolling pin, but sometimes it still sticks. So if you have some corn flour, that will really help. So if you have a big petal or leaf cutter that's kind of a teardrop shape, that works really well for the ears. But if you don't have one of those, you can just use round cookie cutters, 2 sizes, one for the inside, one for the outside. And I'm going to start by making a circle, and then I'm going to ellipse it by using the cutter again on the same circle. So whenever I use any kind of cutter, I always make sure that I just smooth the edges with my finger, because sometimes it can leave it a little bit ragged, which looks really bad. So we've done the outside of the ear, now we need to do exactly the same thing with the inside, but obviously using a smaller circle. And then to finish them off, just use a little bit more edible glue to stick the inside to the outside, and then we'll shape them. So to shape them like unicorn ears, you want to put a little bit of glue in the bottom, and then just where you've put the glue, pinch it with your fingers. Now, once you've got all your bits and bobs made, you want to make sure they're completely dry and firm, and really you want to ideally make them a day or 2 in advance so that they're super firm. I've actually made some already because you haven't got time to be waiting for me for a day or 2. So here we go. Here are our dried horns and eyes and ears. And with the horn, it's pretty easy. I'm going to be using a colour spray, a gold colour spray. These are available to buy online usually, or if you've got a really good cake decorating shop near you, then lucky you, you might find it in there. And this is super simple. I'm going to put it onto some greaseproof paper and give it a good old spray. So once you've covered it completely, just leave that to one side. If you have a bit of polystyrene that you can stick it into so it's not touching anything, that's even better, but it won't come to much harm. And the back bit that's sitting on the paper now, you can just use as the back of the cake. Cheat sheet. And then for the other bits, the eyes and the ears, because obviously that kind of goes everywhere, you don't want to use that. You want to use gold paint. And you can either use ready-made gold paint like this one, or you can use gold lustre dust just mixed with a little bit of alcohol, or water if you don't want to use alcohol. They both come out quite good the same, but you just want a nice clean brush and give them a nice coating of gold. Now when you move on to the ears, obviously make sure you don't get any on the white area, because otherwise it will look really messy. So that is my eyes, ears and unicorn horn ready to be stuck into a cake, but I don't have a cake yet, so I'm going to clear the decks and get one. So obviously you can use whatever cake you like, but I find that a taller cake works best for the unicorn. So I've actually got 6 layers. So actually my rainbow cake would be perfect for this. So I'll put a link to that in the description box. But there are tons of recipes on my channel for cake, so use one of those. So I've already filled it and crumb coated it, and it's been in the fridge for a couple of hours and it's nice and firm. So I'm just going to finish it off with a nice smooth coat. So I'm using my vanilla buttercream recipe. You could use Swiss meringue as well, that would be really nice. And both of the recipes for those are in the description box. So I've got my messy coat on, and as usual I'm using my favourite scraper. This is the tall one because it's a taller cake. Right, so that is my naked unicorn, looking very un-unicorn-like right now. So obviously unicorns are super colourful and happy, so we need a few more colours up in here. So I'm just going to put this to one side for a second and bring over my amazing array of colourful buttercream. So all the same recipe that I used for the filling and the outer coating. And I've got pink, green, yellow, purple and blue, but obviously use whatever colours you like. And make sure that your buttercream is nice and smooth, especially if you've mixed up all the colours in advance like me and just kind of left them sitting around for a bit, because they might have got air bubbles inside, so you want to smooth them all out. Because then we're going to put them into piping bags. I have 4 here with 4 different nozzles, or actually 3 different nozzles. And I'm just going to use like a couple of colours in one and a couple of colours in the other to make a really nice variety. And then just keep going with your other colours. Now, I've decided I want my last one to have 3 colours in it, so I'm actually using a palette knife for that because it's a bit longer and thinner, so I can layer it up a bit easier. So that's all my colours ready to go. I've had a bit of a clear up, so continuity guys. That's what happened while you were spinning around. And I need to make this into a unicorn now. So I'm going to start by putting my eyes on, because then I can choose the front and make sure they're nice and symmetrical, yada, yada, yada. Now, if your buttercream is still super soft and wet, then by all means just go ahead and stick them on. But if you want to be 100% sure that they are going to stay on, because they can be quite heavy, the eyes, I would recommend using royal icing, and you can check out the recipe to my royal icing from last week's video from my cookie masterclass. So I'll put a link to that up there, down there. I'm only going to use a tiny bit just to stick these on. So there's the eyes starting to take shape and get a personality. So it's horn next. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick this in basically in the middle. Okay, so there's another thing going on here, and that is that if this video gets over 100,000 views, I am going to treat myself to a new turntable. So make sure you share this video with your friends, because I really want a new one. So almost there. We just need to put the wonderful rainbow mane on. So obviously we've got all our lovely colours, and I'm going to start by doing a nice sort of rose fringe at the front. So that's the first bit. Obviously it's a little bit bald at the minute, but what I'm going to do is carry on using big blobs to make the bulk of it, and then little blobs in between, and I'm going to kind of bring it back over to the horn and then carry it down the side so that you can see it from the front. I think I might have finished him. It's difficult to know sometimes when to stop and when to carry on, but I think I'm going to stop now. So all that remains is to put his ears in. I want to put them slightly in front of the horn, obviously either side, making sure that it's symmetrical. And when you're happy, just pop them in. And he is finished, he, or maybe she, and he's nameless. So if you've got any good names, pop them in the comments box below. Also, if there's any other animals you want to be shown how to cakeify, then also put that in the comments box below, because there's loads of things you can do with this technique. So he's available, he or she is available to order from the Crumbs Doilies website as well. So if you're local, then head over to there. There's also loads of other cakes too. And I'll be back at the usual time next Thursday with a cupcake recipe, which I'll be doing at the shop. So make sure you check that out. In the meantime, there'll be another Tuesday tip from the C&D team. So also check that out and make sure you've subscribed and click the bell. And if you make this, then for goodness sake, put it on Instagram, because it's going to be epic and I really want to see it. So do that, do that, and hashtag Cupcake Jemma so I can check it out. And please share it so I can get to 100,000 likes and get myself a turntable that isn't sticky.